What about my love? Wasn't it enough? Just let me know so I can hold you.
𝗕𝘂𝘀𝗶𝗶𝗀𝗀, I love this kid for years at this point, man. There's nothing that I don't like that he does as far as your team aspect is concerned. I like the fact that he's able to catch well out the backfield. When you talk about the Tyler Warrens of running backs, it's him, but he's more effective than what Tyler Warren actually was for Penn State's offense. I think everything that we saw in film was just kind of a fluky situation. 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝗶𝗶𝗀𝗀 is one of those guys that's going to get the rock and he's going to run it hard. The only thing that I'm concerned about him and Ashton Jeanty and Omarion Hampton is the amount of snaps that they've had at running back. That's the only thing. Is how much is their gas tank? How well is their gas tank at the next level? Out of all those guys, I think 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝗶𝗶𝗀𝗀 comes out on top though, as probably better in his career than Ashton Jeanty. And I think he's on par with probably Omarion Hampton, but just because I've been talking about him for so long, I love the way that he plays. I had to put Cam at number 5.
Sampson, depending on where he gets drafted, it's possible that, it takes him some time before he takes over that starting role. Like, think of a Bucky Irving, right? He wasn't the number one guy right away, but he still had some snaps here and there. The Buccaneers had to get him involved with Rachaad White, but he eventually took over the starting role, and he's not looking back, right? I think it could be similar for Sampson. While I think that Giddens and Harvey, you're looking at them as being instant contributors in a limited role, and I think they'll just be really good at what they do. Sampson has that kind of boom potential, but it's also one of those things where it wasn't ever a guarantee Bucky Irving would start over a guy like Rachaad White, right? So if a team with an established starter or a younger guy does bring in Sampson, it may not work out, but just looking at the talent again, I do think that Sampson will end up being a top running back in this class.
When we talk about Dylan Sampson being number 1 in this draft class at running back, somebody's going to pick him in the 3rd round. And we can come back to this, and I'm going to chop this up and put this in a video. We can come back to this 2 years from now, and we're going to be looking at the NFL, as long as he can stay healthy, we might be looking at the NFL's best running back. And I'm not saying that to say that. The dude's he should, if it wasn't for 𝗕𝘂𝘂𝘂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂𝗂 Not because he needed it, because he would have put the world on notice and he probably would be the number one running back coming out in next year's class. I think he stunted himself by coming out so early and taking that injury in the college football playoff. Because people forget this was the SEC's best running back. Quinshawn Judkins was there last year and he had that title for damn near 3 years. Dylan Sampson comes in and says, "Hold my beer, I'm here." and he was the reason why they won games, man. It wasn't Nico. Dylan put that team on his back the whole year, bro. I mean, the spin moves out of tackles, you tackle me in the backfield and I'm putting my hand in the dirt and I'm going the opposite way and I'm scoring a touchdown. Like, he's a highlight reel waiting to happen. And the only guy in the NFL that gives you that type of potential, and I hate to give this comparison because it's two totally different guys, but the skill set is Saquon Barkley. That's high praise. I know, I get it. Dylan Sampson's potential is Saquon Barkley with the way that he could just maneuver people around. I mean, go watch him at Tennessee. He's a absolute beast. He's the number one for me, and Omarion's 1B, but really and truly, I've been pretty firm on Dylan, and I've watched a lot of games of his, and I'm absolutely enamored by his skill set, man. He's gonna make a 3rd round team really, really happy. And if he goes, Jacksonville, you're on the clock. You know, Jacksonville, you're on the clock, bro. You want a guy that's going to be good in pass pro and in the short game and running the ball. Him and Trevor Etienne would be fun to watch together. I would love to see them split carries. That would be awesome. So
I mean, we've already seen Dylan Sampson do that with Jalen Wright last year at Tennessee. I think that Hampton, he deserves to be, that in that late first consideration. Watch out for a team like Buffalo, who's probably going to move on from James Cook. Watch out for a team like Kansas City, who could look to replace Isaiah Pacheco, right? You remember too that those late first round picks are prime candidates for teams to trade up. Why? Because they want the fifth-year option. And if you can get a fifth-year option on a player like Omarion Hampton, keep the running back contracts cheap, you go for it. The Chiefs have already done this with Clyde Edwards-Helaire, right? A few years ago. It didn't work out. With a player like Hampton, I think it's going to work out, right? He's that type of player.
The only thing about Omarion Hampton is he's been doing it at a high clip for 3 years, right? A high clip. Go watch the games last year when your boy Drake May was there. And I'd be hard pressed to tell you that when a lot of people said, oh, they only won this game because of Drake May. No, they won this game because of Omarion Hampton. The one ability that I like from him that you can't teach, that I've only seen this out of the most special running backs growing up, is that spin move to fall forward. He forces you to tackle him forward. It's a no give up. If you touch me, I'm doing I love players that use every tool in the toolkit. This is why when we talk about Jalen Royals here a little later, he's another guy that uses every tool in the toolkit. He's damn near could be, this is my 1B in this class for sure. And then just like, yep. Does the tread on Omarion's tires worry y'all at all? 3 years of consistent usage. He's never gotten hurt. And he's a big guy too. Apparently his I don't know if y'all seen Omarion Hampton's like off-field conditioning. Like he keeps himself in really good shape. And he's a good kid too. Like stays out of trouble, quiet guy. People are gonna love that about him. So if he sneaks in the first round, it's because his personality, off-field stuff and on-field stuff all match up collectively. He's gonna make somebody really, really happy. Ashton Jeanty, a lot of people have talked about him ad nauseum. And my only concern is why wasn't he able to take the top spot over a guy like George 𝗲𝗏𝗏 last year? That's my only concern when I look back and say, and that's a nitpicky thing. But when he got the opportunities, the one thing I love about Ashton Jeanty, again, I don't like to measure this, but unless it's been proven, Ashton Jeanty will stay in there 90% of the snaps, catch a pass, get blown up, on the ground, get blown up on the block because he's been out there 100% of the snaps at that point, on the ground holding his stomach, then gets up and runs for a 40-yard run downfield. Ashton Jeanty is an absolute unit and a tank of a human, man. I think he's an absolute beast, and I love everything about what he provides for a team. And I'm excited to see what he does at the next level, but I will say this: Ashton Jeanty has the highest bust potential and the biggest boom potential all in one. I don't think he should go to the Raiders. I don't think he should go to a system where he's not going to get the majority of the carries. I think he's going to get severely buried on the depth chart if you do that with him. So guys like Chip Kelly's system, if I'm a Raiders fan, I'm going Tedorone McMillan all day. And not stunting the growth of this young man. If you're going to want to go with somebody that's going to split carries, then you got those Travion Hendersons and Quinshon Judkins of the world that are able to do that. Ashton Jeanty needs 90% of the snaps to be successful.
My number one guy, the boy Ashton Jeanty. When I look at him run, man, his ability to make guys miss and absorb contact, his contact balance is what's going to be referred to. It's like it's top notch.
Yeah.
You don't see many players who come out with such an excellent level of contact balance and pure strength as well, yet is still elusive. When you think of a bruising back who's able to absorb contact, you don't normally think of someone who's so nimble as to simply make guys miss and not even absorb any contact at all. But Jeanty can do both. And yes, he was certainly used a lot, right? So that can explain maybe his absurd 2,500 yards. But when you look at the advanced, like the efficiency metrics, he's still like tops in the class and like all of these, right? In terms of yards per attempt, he's up there where very few other players are as efficient for him on a per carry basis. Yards after contact per attempts, right? Tops in the class. Missed tackles forced. He has forced more tackles than everyone in this class by far. And the only player who comes even close within like 50 missed tackles forced of him is 𝗕𝘂𝘀𝗶𝗶𝗀𝗀, right? Who I will say I have him at number, I believe it's number 7, right? It's a loaded running back class. It's tough, right? I really have, 3 through 10 here are very close for me. So this was a difficult position to break down. The one thing that about Jeanty that I think gets overlooked, because of course this past season is going to be, he's going to be looked at, is evaluated ad nauseum. But I want to take a look back at his 2023 numbers in film, right? Where he was used much more as a receiving threat. In 2023, he had 44 receptions on 48 targets for nearly 600 yards, averaging 13 yards per catch and 5 touchdowns, right? And in terms of yards per route run, 3.19. If he had those numbers this year, that would be far and away the best out of anyone in this class. Yep. It wouldn't even be close.
Yep.
But this season, he finished at a pretty poor 0.53. So to me, that's all play calling. They just used him differently, right? The offensive coordinator did change this past season for Boise State. Jeanty was used differently, but it's important to look back at the older stats, the older tape. Why? Because if you look at just this year, he's going to be like he can't be used in the running or in the receiving game. He's not a receiving threat.
Facts.
But look at the stats, look at the numbers, look at the tape from last year, and he is a very dangerous receiver. And Dante, when we watched that film against Oregon, dude can block. Jeanty can do it all. So for me, yeah, he should be a bell cow guy. I don't want him to be a rotational piece, right, in a running back by committee. I want him to be a 3-down back every single drive if he can, right? So for me, right, I view him as a clear-cut number 1 guy. His usage rate is very similar to Omarion Hampton when you look back at both of their careers. Both of them were productive as in their first year, as rotational pieces. And then once they both got the start, right, in their second season, they went off for each over like 1,300 yards. I believe Hampton, it was 1,500, but it was incredible seasons. And then this past season, right, they both built upon their sophomore campaigns. So for me, Jeanty and Omarion Hampton, both of them are very similar. I don't want to say like I view them as the same player. They have different skill sets. I think they can be used slightly when it comes to more inside versus outside zones. But I do view them both as top tier running back talents. You throw them in a class with Bijan Robinson, right, with Saquon Barkley, I think they're all in the same category, not in terms of player comps, just in terms of how do we view them as prospects, right? There's a reason why Jeanty is getting top 10 shouts. There's a reason why Omarion Hampton is viewed as a potential first-round pick at running back, when the last few years, running back has continuously been devalued.